Clemson wrapped up their early signing period with a class of 22 players, a lot of big headliners, and even some late action on signing day, picking up 2 offensive linemen. I want to talk about that, but before I get into that, I want to talk about a little bit of historic context of what to expect in general from a recruiting class. What makes a good recruiting class? What makes one that ended up not being so good? So I took a look. And I'm not showing breakdowns of years 2020, 21, 22, or 23 because, still players on the team. So we can't quite make final declarations there. But took a look at players who were in the class of 2013 all the way through the class of 2019. And you can make declarations about which of these guys worked out and which of them didn't. So in this chart here, obviously bars are different heights because class sizes are different sizes. But the dark orange or true orange are super hits, big time home run kind of hits. Not just guys who worked out, but guys who worked out beyond all, wildest expectations. Guys like Christian Wilkins, Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, all these type guys. So the criteria there is they were at an elite or at least an excellent level of play for multiple years at Clemson, right? So like a Kevin Dodd, who's years ago, but he was excellent for one season, so he wouldn't have made it, even though he was really excellent for that 1 year. And in the lighter orange, you see hit. Those are guys who maybe weren't superstars, but they were contributors for multiple seasons, or they had 1 year where they really starred, like a Cornell Powell, who was really a stud for that one season, but maybe not for 2 or 3 or 4 seasons. And then, of course, are your misses. And I don't want to call guys out here, but, you have guys kicked off the team. You have guys who are too injured to really contribute, and guys who transferred out, and maybe they were good elsewhere. Joseph Charleston is a good example of that. Not a huge contributor at Clemson, but he's been good for Missouri. So not a miss in terms of him as a player overall, but for Clemson, he was a miss. And then, of course, there's guys who just never really hit quite a high enough level of play to be a major contributor in a big time program like Clemson. So those are your misses. So we take a look at this. A couple things stand out. I think to me, what jumps out is that 2013 and the 2015 class were incredible. Those classes were awesome, and that's what led to championships. And if you look at it this way, by percentages, the 2016 class stands out as well. But you look at the 2013 class with just so many excellent players who really became superstars. And that those are the guys, like guys like Mike Williams, and you kind of jump ahead. You have the 2013, the 14, 15, and the 16 championship season. So they're, those are guys who were seniors on that team. Guys like Mike Williams, big time contributors there. And then you look at the 2018 team. You kind of build in that 1 year of 1 or 2 years of kind of waiting, and you see it hit there. The other thing that really stands out is the 2019 class, and it not working out. And you think about some of the struggles that Clemson's had as a program over the past couple of years, 2020, not so much, but really 2021, 22, and this last year. And here are some of the headliners, or here were the headliners of the 2019 class. Andrew Booth, who was great. He was the big hit. But Joe Ngata, Frank Ladson, who's in the portal again, Will Putnam, who's been good, but maybe not quite as elite as we expected, but he had a good career. Joseph Charleston, who's the guy I mentioned before, transferred to Missouri. Kane Patterson, who transferred to Vanderbilt, and Brighton Constantine, an offensive lineman who never really panned out. So, those are just the headliners. But as you go down the list, and I'll jump back to the raw numbers, 19 guys in that class who did not really pan out. So that's just a lot of misses. So going back to here where the percentages, you look at the 2 in orange. If you're getting 60%, you see 2015, 65%. When you add those up, 2015 is 65, 2016 is 60%, 2013 is outstanding at 73%. You're getting numbers like that. That's a big win for the recruiting class. So just kind of set that up as expectations, right? So if we can get, say, 60% of this 2024 class to pan out, that's a great class. So let's take a look. Let's talk through some of these guys in the 2024 class. So I'll start on offense. No quarterback, which, is kind of a weird deal on a recruiting class. No quarterback, but they went after quarterbacks first. They went after DJ Lagway, who's went to Florida, Walker White, who went to Auburn, Aaron Noland, who chose Ohio State over Clemson. So, a couple guys they did go after. It's not like they didn't want a quarterback. But after they missed on those guys, I like that they, instead of settling and taking a guy that they didn't really believe in, they went ahead. They found Blake Hebert from the 2025 class out of Massachusetts. I'm a big fan of his. His tape looks really, really good. I know Massachusetts doesn't necessarily have Florida, Texas, kind of Georgia level of competition, but he's making great throws. Throws are the throws, and he looked really good in the tape I watched. So excited about him. And then they redshirted Chris Vizina. So essentially, it just pushes. Really, the 23 class didn't have a quarterback essentially because Vizina will be a redshirt freshman next year. So, not necessarily ideal, but I like Hebert in the 25 class. In terms of going back to this 24 class, David Eziomume, 3-star running back out of Cobb County, so right around the corner from me here in suburban Atlanta. I'm really high on this guy. I know he's a 3-star, and some people scoff at that. And I'm guilty of that too at times. But if you look into it, he's a speedster. He's a track star. And now in the senior year, he's racking up stats. So I'm really excited about him. He's also got a lot of personality and has been a big part of recruiting guys into the class. So I really like him. Clemson needs speed. They need speed specifically at running back. So I like what he brings. It's a good fit. And then wide receivers, where they hit some of the biggest home runs. 5-star Bryant Wesco. TJ Moore at 4-star, all-star rating, because I'm going to mention our 24/7 composite. Love to see elite wide receivers starting to come to Clemson again. There was a little bit of a lull. And frankly, some guys that were even bigger recruits that didn't develop. I mean, Ngata and Ladson were big-time recruits. And, that's that 2019 class where you sort of saw, the 2-year lag, but that's where things started heading back down. I think we're seeing both in last year's class, which was excellent overall, and then this year's class, feels like things are heading back up. Love what they could bring. And frankly, I really would have liked to see Clemson take a transfer at wide receiver, particularly after Bo Collins left. I think now they're betting on these guys being, at least one of them being a big contributor immediately. I mean, they're going to have to come in and be essentially a better version of Bo Collins, and then need help from guys like Cole Turner and Antonio Williams. And if they can get that, this wide receiver room could be pretty good. They're going to be betting on these freshmen immediately. And they certainly have the talent. At tight end, another big-time playmaker, Christian Bentoncourt, a 4-star out of Illinois. Clemson's Dabo's first recruit from Illinois. He's 6'5", 240, so big guy, should be fine blocking. He doesn't do a lot of inline blocking in high school right now because he's so good as a receiver. But with that size, that should be something they could teach. He's an inch and a half shorter than Brinkstool, but weighs more. So he's a little bit thicker there. But in terms of a receiver, he's had 1,345 yards receiving in his senior year. So bare minimum should be a great red zone threat like David Eziomume was, but I think he could be, really elite wide receiver all around. And he'll fight for, second team snaps behind Brinkstool as a freshman, but then, after that, he could be taking first team snaps. I mean, Josh Sapp is obviously in the mix, but really excited about him. And then a position where, we've complained that Clemson doesn't take enough offensive linemen, right? And it was a little strange that they went so hard after portal linemen. And it comes out now after the fact, after they went 0-for-4 on portal linemen, that they weren't looking for a guy to plug in and start right away. They were looking for someone essentially almost like the same model as a high school recruit that they could develop over 2-3 years. And that's really why they didn't land anyone. It's not really how the portal works. There's other positions I would have prioritized for the portal. But for offensive linemen, you want to bring in obviously great players, but also quantity, because you're not going to get 60% of these right on the offensive line, right? It's much more of a 50-50 proposition, even if you're developing them really well. So they brought in 4 3-star guys. Obviously, you'd rather see, a bunch of 4 and 5 stars. But again, it's more of a crapshoot. So it's tough to watch the tape and come away with good takeaways because they're obviously not going to show them getting beat, knocked back, giving up sacks. You're not going to see that, right? And so you're just going to see, great plays, which is always the case in any highlight, but you can kind of tell a little bit more with a wide receiver making tight throws or a running back with breakaway speed. But as much as I could tell, Ronan O'Connell really jumped out at me. He's playing tackle in Tennessee, and he moves really well in space, a lot of pulls and just drilling people. So love that. Watson Young was a guy where they took him when it was looking like they might not even land a second offensive lineman. He's out of Daniel. He plays left tackle there. Wasn't a move I was thrilled about, but also like you need to have at least 2 offensive linemen. They're going to play him at center though, which is great because that kind of seems like people are always shuffling, right? Shuffling to center, like Putnam had to move to center. And now Ryan Linthicum is going to be sort of first in line next year. The guy they recruited to be a center. He's kind of paid his dues. Now he'll be a center. That could be Watson Young, in 3-4 years. So he was their second offensive lineman, and it seemed like he could be the only other offensive lineman. And then on signing, they added 2 more with Mason Wade, who was a 3-star, who they flipped from Duke. Again, tough to evaluate the tape, but he looked really physical. Coach Sweeney called him a dirtbag, which is a weird way to say it, but I think he just means he's, and he also said he's nasty, right? I liked his run blocking for sure on tape. And then Elijah Thurman, I think I said 4 3-stars. I meant 3 3-stars, 1 4-star. That 4-star is Elijah Thurman, guy out of Hinesville, Georgia, which is kind of, I wouldn't call it a suburb, but it's nearish to Savannah, Georgia. He was a guy who had a Florida offer, chose Clemson. His tape really, really jumps out, really physical, can move, but also he just knocks people over. His pass blocking looked really good. Him and Wade, really all these guys are tackles, but they'll have some versatility as Clemson likes to do. So love that they actually took numbers at the offensive line, something we've been begging for and complaining about that they don't do enough. So they did it. So we got to give them credit there. And then on defense, 3 linebackers. Obviously, 5-star Sammy Brown is maybe the headline or the crown jewel of the entire class. Number 1 overall linebacker. He won the Butkus Award as the number 1 linebacker in the entire country out of high school. He's a guy who I don't know if he's going to start right away, but he'll be in the 2 deep, I would expect, from day 1. He's going to contribute right away, most likely. I really like him. Drew Woodaz, if he's anything as good as his brother Wade Woodaz, that'll be great. And then CJ Kuba Taylor, a late ad, a 3-star, didn't have a lot of offers, but from what I understand, and I watched his tape and he looks excellent. That doesn't make a ton of sense that he's a 3-star and didn't have all these offers because he's physical hitter, good speed. Didn't really get it. But then it sounds like the story is that he's kind of a late bloomer. And with all the transfers that teams fill up on so quickly, they don't have, a lot of these big programs don't have room to add another linebacker on signing day or the day before. And he signed with Clemson or committed to Clemson the day before. So maybe a little bit of a steal there for Clemson, just happened to have room. But that's CJ Kuba Taylor there at linebacker. 4 defensive line commits, Darien Mayo, Adam Kasai, Heaven Brown Schuler, and Champ Thompson. Darien Mayo is the 4-star, 6'7". I don't know how a 6'7" guy is going to work at defensive end. That we haven't seen it. Seems like it would help in run blocking. Get those arms out there and stop the cover the edge, not let running backs get around. So that could be good. I don't know if any of these guys are going to be contributing next year per se, but with Chris Rumpf and Nick Eason, you got to feel good about their future development opportunities. Adam Kasai is more of a developmental prospect. It's actually an example of where other schools might not want to invest that much time developing a guy for the upside, but this is an upside play. I don't know if he'll work out, but you're betting on upside there. And honestly, he had some pretty good offers. He was committed to Minnesota before Clemson came in and got him to flip, but there was also other schools kicking around. It sounded like Minnesota basically told him like the spot's going to fill, it's now or never, so he committed. But it seemed like other schools of more kind of elite status were definitely kicking around. But Heaven Brown, Schuler, Champ Thompson are big guys, highly sought after guys, plenty of offers. So a lot to be excited about there. Before I keep going, just a reminder, if you're not already subscribed to this channel, please do so. If you are subscribed, don't forget to like this video It really helps a lot. Also, thank you to the folks who have given Venmo donations. It's just kind of a Christmas thank you for the content I put out. I really do appreciate it. So thanks to the folks who've done that. It's really kind and very encouraging. All right. Last, but certainly not least, Clemson is kind of cornerback you. And for as much flack as Mickey Conn, I think undeservingly gets, safety has also been a strong position at Clemson. Clemson brought in 6 defensive backs, headlined by Corian Gipson, really a cornerback or safety, and Ricardo Jones, a safety out of the Warner Robins Macon area. I think both of those guys are big time guys who can come in and make immediate contributions. I saw that Corian Gipson is battling some sort of injury, so that could slow him down for just how much impact he makes right off the bat. But I think those are guys you're excited about. Tavoy Fegan is a cornerback, highly rated guy, and I just have 4-star. And I just have so much trust in Mike Reed. These other guys, Noah Dixon, 4-star safety. He'll need to add some muscle. Ashton Hampton, he's a safety and or cornerback out of Tallahassee. Chose Clemson over Florida State, which is always good. I think he'll probably play at some cornerback where Clemson has less depth. And Joe Wilkinson, need to read up more about him. He had an App State offer and flipped to Clemson at the last minute, but his tape looked pretty good to me. So I'm not sure why he was only, picking between schools like App State and some of their G5 rivals. One of the top players production-wise in the state of Georgia, out of Rome. So we'll need to learn more about him. But overall, 22 players in the class. So the question is, will 60% or somewhere between that and maybe 2/3, will they work out? I feel pretty good about the class. There's a few guys they added late that I don't know if they're a little risky. Adam Kasai's a little risky, but you can take those risks knowing you're really only going to get about 60% of these guys to work out. You want to bet on high upside sometimes. So overall, I think Clemson fans should feel pretty darn good about this class. I think it's a strong class that'll help Clemson get back to where they're supposed to be. And even more so, I think you look at last year's class. Let me pull this up. So last year's class, you had Vic Burley, TJ Parker, Peter Woods, Christopher Vizina, and Stephylan Green as kind of the headline top-rated guys. Obviously, Parker and Woods have already worked out, but you've already had under-the-radar 3-star guys from that 2023 class, Shelton Lewis, Khalil Barnes, Avion Terrell, and Tyler Brown already work out in a big-time way. So if you could stack that class is already working out really great. You stack that on another strong class. That's how 2-3 years from now, you get to another national championship type roster. So I think encouraging news for Clemson. Leave your thoughts on this class, who you're excited about, what your underrated recruit is, what your favorite recruit is, and let's keep the conversation going. So thanks again for watching. I appreciate it. And as always, go Tigers.